Hi everyone, delonewolf here and welcome back for some more World of Warcraft Classic. This is going to be the 1 week update of my experience in the World of Warcraft Classic, and as you probably know from the first video, the first 3 days were spent in quite a binge, around 10 hours a day, and I did manage to get pretty far, I would say, for my doing, for a casual gamer, although we have of course seen someone be able to get to level 60 in just 3 days and 7 hours played with an AoE mage, focusing on that, also abusing the layers a little bit from what I've heard, getting invites to the different layers so that it doesn't have to wait for respawns, but still 3 days and 7 hours playtime to get to level 60 in Classic is pretty damn crazy. For me, after those 3 days, we still had a full weekend before I had to go back to work, but I couldn't manage that same pace. I had to basically rest up a little bit and make sure that I was mentally and physically ready to go back to my real life job as well, of course, after all of that World of Warcraft Classic in the first few days. So that went down in amount quite a little bit, I would say 4 to 5 hours on Saturday and on Sunday. I still managed to do that, and it was mostly dungeon grinding. That was actually a pretty interesting experience. At first, of course, Shadowfang Keep, we basically went from being a little bit underleveled there and struggling with the first boss to getting that dungeon to absolute farm status. As we became more powerful, we could do bigger pulls, we could take some shortcuts, and we of course also learned the instance. I learned where I had to be a bit more careful for my healing, and I also learned my mana management a little bit as we went along. And then the final boss, well, once you learn the tactic, once you understand how he works, I actually learned to keep an eye on which target he has, and then preemptively start healing that target. And it all worked out very, very well. Really happy with the drops as well. In fact, we did a couple of extra runs with some lower level people as well, just to help them along. But I got a blue chest piece, a blue belt, really amazing gear from Shadowfang Keep for my priest. So I was really happy actually with all the runs that we did there, and I basically learned that dungeon. I never went really hardcore into dungeoning or anything like that, but still 4 or 5 hours of Shadowfang Keep. Well, after that you know the dungeon, you know the traps, the more difficult mechanics, and you also learn the way it's laid out, so that you have some shortcuts that you can take to get back out of the instance, reset, and then go back in for another round. It was actually a pretty fun experience in my opinion, and well, compared to questing or especially mob grinding, it's actually a decently efficient way to get experience and to level up. After that, we also did a couple of runs in I think it's Crawl. I'm not sure exactly what it's called, but it's another instance. I was obviously still underleveled for that as well, so there what we did is something a little bit different. We basically focused on clearing trash. That was level 28 to 32, I think, on just a couple of bosses, but basically keep it to a small round inside that dungeon of doable mobs and just grind those for XP. Went really well. We had maybe 1 or 2 wipes on some accidental pulls, but it was very interesting to have that experience there as well, and to also see as we got slightly better levels, we did become more and more efficient at doing them, cutting down our time to run that dungeon part, which is basically not the entire dungeon, but just focusing on, as I've said, a part of it that is perfect XP for our level ranges. So that was the weekend. Lots of time in the dungeons. Got actually some good drops out of it, and I would say pretty damn good XP for the time spent there. But after that, of course, we had like the first half of the week, you could say, bringing us to a full 1 week of World of Warcraft Classic, and had to combine that with my real life job. It's like full time, so basically I come home in the evening after my job, and it's not like I then have the energy to go for 3-4 hours of dungeon grinding. That's also not my playstyle. You guys may know that I'm more of a solo minded player. I'm actually a pretty introverted person personality. And so having spent 3-4 hours on Discord with 4 other people grinding dungeons, it's a lot of input for a more introverted person. So that is actually really tiring for me. It costs me a lot of energy to do that. And so on the weekdays, that's just not what I'm able to do. So I decided to just go for a bit more solo friendly activity, which I think questing is definitely doable. Has been a very interesting experience. At this point, I should probably also mention that I did go for some add-ons. I have a bartender to set my bars. I've got Bagnon, of course, for the backspace. Just helps that you can just click on one bag and have everything open, your full inventory. That helps a lot as well. And I actually took Healbot for the healing in the dungeon. Still have to set up the raid frames. I'm not sure how to fix that, but I'll figure it out. And then I did decide on Questy, which does go against the actual classic experience, but yeah, at least being able to see where you have to go for your next quest hub, it makes a very big difference, especially if it is to have a slightly easier time and to be able to go through that type of content solo. So that's also an add-on that I have. It's the 4 Bagnon, Bartender, Healbot, and Questy at this point, which is what I'm using. The questing experience, it's classic, it's not easy. Mobs are aggressive. Pull 1 or 2 too many and you actually die from them. So it's definitely not easy, but the typical classic experience does exist there as well. You always or almost always encounter other people that are doing the same quest, and you automatically get invited into their groups because it makes the content more doable. It's actually more efficient and safer to be with 2 on most quests than to try and solo them down. Also a little bit of PvP, although I don't have any footage of that. A little bit of a mixed bag. Sometimes you just get jumped on by 2-3 alliance that are 30 plus that are red to you, and they just completely demolish you. And sometimes it's the other way around. There's one poor warlock that happens to be doing the quest, and there you go with 4 guys, and you can just clear him off the field. And being a priest, I also had one very cool experience in my opinion. 2 evenly matched players were duking it out, and well, I came in with a clutch heal. The opponent was completely out of mana, started to run away, and actually got that kill as well. So yeah, priest is very helpful, of course, to turn the tide when it's a close fight that's happening. So a little bit of world PvP as well, but really not that much. I focused mostly on trying to get a couple of quests done, get a little bit of XP in my solo adventures during the week. But I feel all right, this is okay. The rested XP is definitely gonna be something that keeps you motivated to go in, even if it is in small sessions, because you do very quickly fill that bar, that XP bar, that way, even with just grinding some mobs at the right level. And all of it is very new for me, of course, because I've never played the horde side of things. So it's pretty massive learning experience for me, and Questy does help speed things along a little bit when it comes to the quest. But overall, I'm still having a lot of fun with World of Warcraft Classic. Actually, it's really fun to be on a quest, feel like, all right, this is really cutting it pretty close, and all of a sudden seeing a mage or another priest come in, and then they say, all right, let's do this together, grind it out, bring the quest in, go your separate ways. Actually something that you don't see in the BFA, in the Battle for Azeroth at the moment. Everything there is really geared towards doing either in LFR or super solo friendly. It's been pretty interesting to have all of those random invites. I know that I did like 3 or 4 quests with a hunter. We just chained them one after another. It was really nice, very efficient with his pet tanking all of the damage. And then sometimes we have a couple of priests that go into a group to try an elite quest and things like that. It's been quite a blast actually, and although my pace will be a lot slower than most players and also than my first week, in the upcoming days and weeks I'm definitely planning to keep going for the World of Warcraft Classic and keep you guys up to date in update videos like this one. For now, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you all next time.